Every device on an Ethernet network has a permanent identifier stamped into its hardware before it ever leaves the factory. This is the Layer 2 MAC address. In this walkthrough, we are going to physically cable a Windows PC to a Cisco switch and configure their IP settings. From there, we will use command line tools to extract and decode the MAC addresses from both devices. Take a look at this list to make sure you have everything required to follow along. You will need a wiped Cisco 2960 switch, a Windows PC, a standard Ethernet cable, a console cable to manage the switch, and a terminal emulator program like Tera Term. Understanding how to find and read these addresses is the first step towards identifying hardware and building a more manageable network environment. Let's start with the physical setup. Connect your PC to any fast Ethernet port on the switch using the standard Ethernet cable. Then, plug the console cable into the switch's console port to establish your management connection. This Properties window shows the IPv4 configuration required for the PC. You need to assign the IP address 192.168.1.3, set the subnet mask to 255.255.255.0, and set the default gateway to 192.168.1.1. Next, open Tera Term on your PC to connect to the switch console. Once connected, type Enable and then Configure Terminal to enter Global Configuration mode. We need to apply two initial settings. Type hostname S1 to name the switch, then type No IP Domain Lookup. This prevents the switch from pausing to search for a DNS server if you happen to mistype a command later. Now type Interface VLAN 1 to configure the switch virtual interface. Assign it an IP address by typing IP address 192.168.1.2, followed by a standard subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Before you exit, you must type No Shutdown. This command brings the VLAN interface online. Both the PC and the switch now have active, properly configured Layer 3 IP interfaces. Without this logical connection in place, we cannot send the test traffic needed to reveal the underlying Layer 2 MAC addresses. Let's test the connection. Open the Windows command prompt on your PC and type ping 192.168.1.2 to send a test packet directly to the switch. A successful ping looks exactly like this. You want to see 4 consecutive replies, confirming that data can travel to the switch and back without issue. With connectivity confirmed, stay in the command prompt and type ipconfig/all. This generates a detailed list of your computer's network adapter settings. Scroll through the output to find your active Ethernet adapter. Look specifically for the line labeled Physical Address. That is the MAC address for your PC. Reading from left to right, these first 6 hexadecimal digits, or 3 bytes, make up the Organizationally Unique Identifier, or OUI. The IEEE assigns this code directly to the hardware manufacturer. The remaining 6 digits are the NIC serial number. The manufacturer assigns this unique value to the specific network interface card built into your computer. Depending on the operating system, you might see this address formatted with dashes, colons, or periods. The syntax changes, but the underlying 48-bit hexadecimal value remains exactly the same. A MAC address is a highly structured, globally unique code. By decoding it, you can identify both the specific piece of hardware on your network and the company that built it. Now we will look at how the Cisco switch stores and displays its own Layer 2 information. Switch back over to your Tera Term console. Type Show Interfaces VLAN 1. Look for the letters BIA, which stand for Burned In Address. That string of characters right next to it is the permanent factory-assigned MAC address for the switch interface. To see how the switch keeps track of other devices, type Show ARP. This command displays the ARP table, which is a map connecting logical Layer 3 IP addresses to physical Layer 2 MAC addresses. Here, you can see how the switch links its own IP to its burned-in address, and how it maps the PC's IP to the MAC address we found earlier in the Windows command prompt. Finally, type Show MAC Address Table. This opens the primary operational database the switch uses to make forwarding decisions. Scan the bottom of this table to find the PC's MAC address. Next to it, the table lists the specific physical switch port, Fast Ethernet 06, where that PC is connected. Notice that this entry is labeled Dynamic. This means the switch actively learned the PC's location by observing the test traffic we sent earlier across that specific port. By constantly updating this table, the switch maintains a precise map of the physical hardware environment. This ensures it routes traffic efficiently, sending data only to the exact port where the receiving device is connected. You have now successfully built a physical network link, configured the necessary IP protocols, verified the connection, and extracted MAC addresses using both Windows and Cisco operating systems. Network administrators rely on this information every day. By knowing the MAC address of a device, you can assign it a permanent IP using static DHCP reservations, lock down specific ports to approved hardware, and easily track down rogue devices plugged into the wrong wall jack. Layer 2 communication even handles network-wide announcements. When a device needs to talk to everyone on the network simultaneously, it targets a special broadcast MAC address consisting entirely of Fs, ensuring every connected switch port receives the message. Layer 2 addressing provides the visibility needed to document every physical connection and monitor device activity across the network. If you found this lab helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more network configuration guides.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sistrunk, and I'm reaching out to the student body. Okay, students, we are working on another lab. And this particular lab, I'm going to bring it over here, is called 7.2.7 Lab. View network device MAC addresses. So what we want to do with this particular lab is proceed to recognize a MAC address on a switch vis-a-vis a PC. So we want to be able to configure devices and verify connectivity, display, describe, and analyze Ethernet MAC addresses. And as you can tell from this scenario, that's basically all we want to do. We want to look into that. So make sure you always read through your scenario so you'll know exactly what's going on. The devices we're going to build out with will be a switch, a PC, a console cable, and Ethernet. Now, in reality, if we was in my lab, we'll be doing this in the lab, but we're going to use packet tracers so we can demonstrate that we can do this. So let's go ahead and get the required resources. So the first thing I'm going to do is come here because I want to bring up a PC. So I'm going to put a PC on the desktop. And the next thing I want to go do is get a switch. So I'm going to click here, where we can get network devices, and come down here and choose a switch. And the switch that I'm going to grab is, of course, the 2960. Remember those names. 2960 represents something, and these names are important for you to know. It basically tells you what type of switch you are using, and by knowing that name, you will know all of the configurations you can do on that particular switch. A lot of people don't understand that. When you understand that, you know what that particular switch can do for you. Okay, now let's get us a console cord. So I'm gonna come here to this connection tube and I'm gonna grab a console cable cord. So I'm gonna grab this here, and of course I'm gonna come over here and click here and choose RS232. Of course. So I'm going to choose that. And then I'm going to come over here and click console. So that is connected. But we also want to do something else. Now we got to put an Ethernet cable cord there because we want to cable up the right devices. Correct? Of course we do. So now I'm going to come back here and grab a crossover cable. But I'm going to use this one here, which is going to automatically do it. You know to choose the right cable cord. I'm going to choose this here. I'm going to go to the PC, click there, and then I'm going to come to the switch and click there. I do it like that when I'm making my videos, but in a classroom, I'm going to have you go ahead and do it. And you see that little light there, so I'm going to go ahead and make that light turn green by fast forwarding. That's the thing that is unique with using Packet Tracer. You can speed up the connection. You can really drill down in here on what you really want to do. Now, we have all the devices. Let me bring that back over here. We have a switch, 2960, a PC, a console cord, and Ethernet cable cord for our topology. So we have that laid out. Excellent. So you can see it's a simple layout. And what you're doing is now about to learn how to recognize what a MAC address look like. Now I know right now in the course you pretty much read the chapter, you understand what a MAC address is, but we want to go into detail. So let's go here into the PC, and we want to proceed to go into what we want to configure the PC. So in that particular case, we're going to come up here to the config box, and we could configure it from here, but this is not how we want to do it. Always remember, it's a simple way, but we want to do it like we would be doing it in the industry. And in the industry, we want to come over here and go to the terminal. And once we get the terminal set up, which you can see the setup is already there, we want to click on it. Now, we know that the PC is already up. If we hit enter, you'll see it's already up. But I want to show you something. So I'm going to shrink this down just a little, move it down. And I'm going to come over here to the switch. This is how we sometimes configure the switch. And I want you to get out of the habit of doing it this way. I clicked on the switch and I come over here to CLI, and you see it's the same information here, right here. You see here, but we want to get out of the habit of doing that because that's not the proper way to configure a switch. If we're going to configure a switch, we want to do it the right way, and this will be the right way to go from the PC to the switch using the proper terminal. Okay. So let's get that back up there. Let's do it again. Okay, we got it up there. Now, we want to, of course, type in enable, and you know I'm going to use shortcuts. And then we want to config terminal, and you know I'm going to continue to use shortcut. So the first thing, I'm going to give it a host name. So I'm going to say host, and then I'm going to say S1 for the switch. Okay, so there it is. We gave it a name, and you can see the name right here. You know that the name is right there, so you can see it right there. Okay, as I highlight it right there. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to type in this. We don't talk a lot about, but I want to talk about it now. Is no IP domain. When you working on a switch, this is very important to do because this will stop the switch from looking for a domain on your computer or your device while you actually configuring it, and it can slow you down. So you want to put that in all the time. Every time you configuring a switch, put that in, people. It will slow you down. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and configure the VLAN 1. So we're gonna go interface. We in the right place, interface, VLAN, and we're gonna say 1. And there go the interface right there. Now we're gonna give it an IP address because we, of course, need an IP address. Oh, that makes sense, Professor. Yeah, of course, we need that. So as you can see, I'm typing in the IP address that we gonna put on that particular interface. And let me see if I got it right, 192.168.1.2. And of course, we gotta put in the subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. And that should be 0. So we got 3 of them in there. We hit enter, and then we're gonna go ahead and say no shut down. Okay, we know we gotta type this in because we don't type that in, as it said in the video, we will not turn it on. So we just turned it on, and you can see it right here. That line is now connected. That line is up. So we completed that task. We have this up, and if we come here and close this box and close that, we can come right here now, and you can see VLAN 1 right there. VLAN 1 has an IP address that is connected. It's letting us know we are communicating. So if you look at the very top, Fast Ethernet 1 is up, meaning we connected the cabling correct, and then we just turned it on with VLAN 1. And I'm going to come over here to the command prompt. Wait, we got one thing here. Let's bring our lesson back over here and look at this. We did not give the PC an IP address and a subnet mask or default gateway. We didn't put those three in. So let's go do that. Let me get back over there. I'm gonna come here to the IP config, and I'm just gonna type in a static IP address for this particular device, 192, and then we're gonna go 168, then we're gonna go 1, and we're gonna put 3, and we're gonna hit tab, and there we go. We got that in, but we need a default gateway. So we're gonna take this IP address up here and just simply copy it down, making it simple for us to complete, and we're gonna change it to a 1. So now we have that IP address in there. So that is good. Now we know that the PC has an IP address listed. So let's go check that before we do anything. I'm gonna close these here, and I'm just gonna put my mouse pointer over the PC, and you can see the IP address in the gateway right there, locked in. So we have pretty much everything in here. Now let's see if we can ping the switch. So I'm gonna go to the PC and I'm gonna click on it here, and I'm gonna type in ping, and I'm gonna type in 192.168.1n.2. So that is the IP address for the switch right there. And I'm gonna hit enter and see what happens. Let's see if it reaches out to the switch. So we got, and we can see it's reaching out to the switch. Now the first one, you know, is actually recognizing the switch. So yes, we have a successful connection. Okay, so now we want to look for that MAC address. This is what this is all about, to find the MAC address. Let's bring that over. We want to look at this here and say, hey, we want to display, describe, and analyze Ethernet MAC addresses. So we want to be able to find the MAC address. And we're going to use this command here. Of course, we're going to use the IP config all while we're on the PC. So we're going to type that in, IP config /all, and we're going to hit enter. And there we go. We see all type of information that's listed there. And this information is mission critical because it can tell you exactly what your device has listed there on your particular PC. So if we look at the physical address of IPv6 right here, we see your IP address, subnet mask, default gateway. It's a whole host of information that's located on there. And you, from watching my previous video, know exactly what this information is. What is the OUI MAC address? You know what that is. Okay, so you have all this information that you can gather from your particular PC. Now, we want to go to the switch and do the same thing with the switch. Remember, we want to make sure we can see the MAC addresses on here so we can know exactly what these MAC addresses are. Physical address, there it is right there. Well, let me clear that up. When they say the physical address, they normally talking about the MAC address. It's a dual name for each of them. So physical address means the MAC address. So when you see that, make sure you understand that. Okay, now let's go to look for the physical address on the actual switch. So now I am going to come here, and then I'm gonna go back to the terminal. Of course, we're gonna log in. I look like I've been holding down the key. So I'm gonna say show, well, first thing I'm gonna see where I'm at, and then I'm gonna end this and go back to the beginning, and I'm gonna say show interface VLAN 1, and that's gonna give me the information I need. Now remember, in here is a lot of information, but we just looking for the MAC address, and we see it right here. So students, that's how we recognize the MAC addresses for our devices. We can be on our PC, go to the terminal, and proceed to log in and see our MAC address. And if we wanted to know what are the addresses for each one of these devices, I can simply type in, which you know is show ARP, and it'll tell me these devices are listed, and you can see them right there. Both of the devices are in here. So what is the takeaway? The takeaway is that you need to know how to recognize your MAC addresses on these particular devices, and you can use Packet Tracer to demonstrate that. The very last command that I would type in here to see any more information is I can just simply say show MAC address. These are commands I need you to remember, people. I need you to remember them. Do not forget these commands. Show MAC address table, so you can see the MAC addresses that are in here. Okay, so that's what we're gonna leave with. Is now if we was on a regular computer system doing this in the lab, it'll show more information in that, but this is all you need to see. With that being said, this is Professor Sistrunk. I hope that this little demonstration helped you to recognize a MAC address in the PCs. I'll see you in the next video log.